should be the next pope.
All right, Daily Wire, the whole troop. Are you there?
Hey,
We are. We are.
Okay.
We were just talking about how you should be the next pope.
Why should I? What? Well, I couldn't pull off the red shoes.
Good try.
The Prada is not flattering on everybody. That's true.
Well, Knowles and Walsh, obviously, are the resident Catholics there. What is it? Is it? This is my understanding that not only is there someone who makes the shoes for the Pope, which I understand, and there is someone who makes some other shoes, but there's someone who exclusively makes the red shoes. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a pair, unfortunately. I'm not sufficiently high up in the hierarchy.
Well, no one's
I don't know. Someday, if you are in power, Stephen, I hope that I get a pair.
Well, I don't know. If I'd be a pope with a nice pair of Vans.
Yeah.
So,
American pope.
Daily Wire, what are you guys, have you guys been following? Obviously, I know you've been following the election. What have you been covering here on the Arizona stuff? Because I think you guys, I have to be careful. We're on Rumble here tonight. We're not on YouTube for reasons, we had Carrie Lake on our
I'd just
stream.
like to say this, Stephen, just for YouTube, obviously, there are never any questions about election integrity, and I believe anything that the government tells me.
Amen.
Yes, absolutely.
Are we good?
Yes.
Well, once this ends, they can head over to Rumble.
Sitting at his laptop going, I've almost got him.
No, I'm not going to come on and get you guys in trouble. Believe me, I'm not going to say anything to get you guys in trouble. We'll talk about it afterwards on Rumble because the Arizona stuff is bizarre. And we just watched on CNN. They said, we fixed the problems. And I don't know if you saw this on CNN. Hey, Andrew, nice to see you, by the way. And Ben and Candace. Candace, you're the smallest from the depth of field because I'm looking at a camera and you're also. Oh, hi, Candace. Okay, looking lovely. You make all these guys look like shit. So, and I'm not being facetious at all. They just on CNN. Hold on a second here. I have to bring this up because it's screwing up my iPad. On CNN, they send someone out to Nevada. Was it, Gerald? It was Nevada.
Sorry, what?
They sent someone out to Nevada on CNN.
Las Vegas.
Nevada.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm saying I'm being more specific.
I'm sorry, guys. This is a disaster.
So
they sent someone out to Nevada to go look at a poll, right? To go look at a voting precinct. And of course, we know Nevada is very likely going to be red by a significant margin. And of course, we know that same-day voting favors Republicans. Now, I guarantee you this is what happened. And let me explain to you. And you tell me if you think that I'm being presumptuous. So he goes out there, and he's in a mall that looks like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, as one does. And so he goes there, and I bet you the CNN producer said, look, it's same-day voting. That's going to be heavily Republican, and this is not going to go well for us in Nevada. We need you to find a precinct where same-day voting is going to lean heavily blue. And he said, say no more. And he's talking to people in line underneath a Mercado, Supermercado sign. Not a word of English written.
That's not a great story.
No, I'm saying that's the only place he could find anyway, because the Telemundo offices weren't available. It's the only place that he could find majority Democrat voters. He was just like, hey, who are you voting for? I am voting for a Democrat, and that was it.
I think the problem is that I just didn't understand the joke.
No, it's not a joke. This actually just happened on CNN. He's underneath a sign that says Supermercado is where he went, an entirely Hispanic area.
That's a really good Spanish accent you got going there. Supermercado.
Well, sorry, we can't all be Dominican or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
We've quite a tale.
We can't all look like we're walking around in a perfect Dominican brown suede evening gown. Rub it in my face, Candace.
That's just not fair.
So
what?
Stephen.
Yes.
Who's going to win and who's going to lose? Just tell us that. As the Pope.
Yes, that's the Vans Pope. Yes, yeah, I'm the new Vans Pope. I will say this: I would have expected Arizona, Carrie Lake, if not for all the YouTube-friendly
Questions,
irregularities,
strange coincidences.
Excellent voting procedures.
Yes. So I will.
Listen, I'm troubled by what's going on in Maricopa County. I think that it's unconscionable that you can't, in the United States of America, in the year of our Lord, respectfully, 2022.
Don't tell that to me. Tell that to Ben.
Yeah, that you can't actually effectuate an election successfully. It's unbelievable. But I still think Carrie Lake's going to win. I think that we're going to spend all evening fretting about Arizona, and Arizona's actually going to be a bright spot by the time that the evening's over. I'm a little bit more concerned about Herschel Walker down in Georgia. I'm a little bit more concerned about Dr. Oz over in Pennsylvania. I'm a little bit more concerned that we're going to lose races where it isn't because the voting machines aren't working. I have a feeling we're going to still fare. I hope. I mean, I'll be the first to admit if I'm wrong.
Right.
I'm hopeful that Arizona is actually going to break our way, even with all these irregularities.
Well, I agree with you, and I was just talking about, obviously you guys are the political experts. I'm just I'm a comedian with a horrible Hispanic accent. But I will say,
Took offense to that.
maybe someone can clarify for me. Explain this to me like I'm a dummy without getting banned from YouTube.
I was about to say, hold on. They're on YouTube. We're not.
I know
we have
they're
the
on
freedom of not being
Yes,
there right
and I
now,
would,
so
and
let's
genuinely, I don't want you. I know you guys are probably on edge because I'm not going to do anything that'll get you guys in trouble. We'll do that for the Rumble stream once we're done. I promise you, you have my word. But here's my question: they're talking, and Jeremy, to what you were just discussing there. Okay, Arizona. I think it'll be a bright spot long term, but and this is something we sort of have all accepted. And I just was discussing this. They're saying, hey, we will have a certain percentage of the vote tonight until we might have 99%. They just said this on CNN by Friday. Once we count the early voting. Now, hold on a second. If I may, just go with me for a second. Wouldn't it stand to reason that the early voting could be counted early? I don't understand why the same-day voting is counted today and the early voting is counted Friday. Your thoughts? I may be functionally retarded. I've never heard a valid explanation.
Yeah, so this is actually idiotic state law in places like Pennsylvania as well. In Florida, that's not the way it works, right? My home, wonderful state of Florida, which I've been praising all night long for being the best state in America. Florida, they do count all of the election ballots early as they come in, and that's why they're able to get out all of the election tabulations in like an hour and a half of the polls closing. In Pennsylvania, they're legally not allowed by law to count the early ballots until the polls close.
Well, hold on. Pennsylvania, they don't follow their own laws with regard to voting.
Expected to follow our own laws.
Come on, don't throw out the law.
The law, but that's true. But what I'm saying is that a lot of these states just have crap voting procedures, and that just didn't get fixed from 2020. And in some states like Arizona, there's no excuse for it because Republicans were well, actually, Katie Hobbs is running.
Katie
right?
Hobbs is Secretary of State, who also has the final say in that.
Right,
A lot of coincidences.
Amazing in Arizona.
Yeah.
And in Nevada, it's the Democrats who are running the thing. In places like Pennsylvania and Georgia, there really is no excuse for not fixing the voting procedures at this point because this is third. It really is third world crap.
But isn't the problem?
It's not even third world crap. You dip your finger in the purple ink. You put your finger on the person you want. That's how they do it in the third world. And then somebody counts the purple dots.
Right.
You can do it all in a day.
Yeah.
But we're worse than the third world.
Isn't the problem not the counting of the early votes? I don't know if we're allowed to say this, but isn't the problem the early votes? I mean, you shouldn't be voting for 2 months.
I thought you were going to say, isn't the problem the switching?
Yeah,
As
and
a joke.
and all the fraud that takes place.
As a joke. Of course, we're joking. Of course, we're joking.
We're joking. But is it, we shouldn't have 2 months of voting, right? I mean,
We
that's
should
a
not
big
have
problem.
2 months.
And
Absolutely.
Republicans need to come out against it and stop it and stop saying, well, we're just going to fix it around the margins. Don't fix it around the margins. The only reason they have early voting is because they exploited COVID to pretend that this cough was the reason why we had to destroy all our election laws. And then they kept it in place implausibly in this election, and they're going to keep it until we stop
You have
it.
2 years
one of those
to plan your day, to carve out some time to go vote. 2 years to figure that out. There's no reason why you can't do it.
Okay, I have another question also, actually. And this one is about the state Republican parties. This is a real question. Why is it that the best state in the country, Florida, they could rack up voter registrations for the Republican Party to the point where they were actually out-registering the Democrats by this election cycle?
Right.
And in Arizona and in Georgia and in Pennsylvania, apparently everybody just went to sleep for 2 years instead of actually registering voters. What the hell are you doing?
Huge.
What do you do for?
This is why Zeldin can't win in New York, because they have no organization. Every single Republican who wins builds his own kind of world for himself, where every Democrat who wins builds a coalition. Builds a machine.
Well,
builds a
I think
machine.
in Arizona, you have there's a little, obviously you can't underestimate the idea of, Hobbs being Secretary of State, who was planning all along to run for governor. And I do think that Carrie Lake kind of emerged because there weren't a ton of strong people in Arizona. Once she emerged very, very strongly. And you look at that gap that was made up as quickly as it was. Here's my point with Carrie Lake and Hobbs. All right, you're Hobbs. Okay, you're ahead. Now the gap has tightened. Now you're losing. You're not showing up for media. You're not hitting the ground. So we can talk about Republicans not being very active, but think about this for a second. You're not really hitting the ground running, not a super effective grassroots campaign. And then you don't even show up for a debate when, at that point, at best, it was a statistical heat. At worst, she was already. It's like she didn't want to win, but hey, why does that matter when the voting machines go down during peak hour?
You might get lucky and have 20% of the machines just magically go. Maybe I'm just saying. Maybe she had a dream and then suddenly she got lucky. 20% of the machines go out. This is YouTube. I want to keep this user friendly.
No, you already see. Candace Owens doesn't give a shit about YouTube. That's what I dig about you.
Candace can tell jokes just as funny as Steven.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes. I'll have Candace go up with Dave at the Ryman.
We'll do it.
Yes. Except we should warn you, Dave's crowd is a little bit white supremacy.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine. It's Candace.
We're from California, white supremacist adjacent.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ben Shapiro really brings them in. Talk about canvassing. Oh my gosh. He looks like if Ed Furlong didn't get shot at the end of American History X. He would be Ben today. Your move, Candace. Try and come on down to my dark corner of the world. And I mean that figuratively, not the beautiful olive skin.
It just every time you make jokes like that, Stephen, it reminds me of one of the great days of my life, the time that you were waterboarded.
Mine too. I loved it. It's a favorite.
That was a wonderful time for everybody.
Did I ever tell you?
That was a Christmas episode, was it not? It was in celebration of our Lord and Savior. You guys watching Waterboard, if I recall correctly. So
Everyone move your chairs back from Ben about 6 inches. He's going to spontaneously combust.
That's true.
Did I tell you, Ben?
That wasn't a... Go ahead.
Did I tell you, Ben, that I tried to cheat the waterboarding? For people who don't know, what happened is they put the cloth over my face. Remember, it was Tim Kennedy. And I thought that if I stuck my tongue out, I'd create like a pup tent effect and the water wouldn't go. But it's so immediate. I was like, it just makes it worse. So it's like I thought that I'd figured something out that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed missed.
Yeah, there's no way to enjoy waterboarding.
It was one of the great days. I was so excited to see Stephen suffer.
Yeah.
And he took it like such a man.
Yeah.
But I hate to say anything kind about him. He would have lasted, at Gitmo, he would have lasted like 11 and a half seconds, which would have been an all-time record. And I was so angry that he suffered so little that I went upstairs and clogged his crapper.
He's trying to get out ahead of it because he knew I was going to bring that up anyway.
He took an upper decker.
Let me hear from you guys.
His brand new beautiful house.
Yes. Let me hear from you. What are your sort of flyer predictions there? I mean, the one that I said, I think an upset could be Oregon. I think Tempex Kotek could be going down. And then I think that Hochul wins, but I said by less than 4. Those were kind of the ones that. Oh, and I think that Evers loses in Wisconsin, Democrat there. But what do you guys have as far as long shots or sort of what you would call predictions that maybe are off the beaten path?
I was a little bit more optimistic, I'll admit, like 2 hours ago. And I think that as the night wears on and as I have to spend more time with you, I become more pessimistic about the state of the world.
Well.
And so some of my upset predictions, like Hochul, I actually thought had a chance of losing that race. I doubt at this point, given sort of the returns that we've seen, that she's going to lose that race. Also, I think that the estimates that Republicans were going to take 53, 54 seats in the Senate, those are starting to look a little bit outpaced right now. In Georgia, Walker and Warnock look like they may go to a runoff. That may be the most plausible.
Well, it's a good thing that he was a pro ball player. He can run that shit.
Well, I mean, the good news is we can always come up with some extra children who may be of age at this point. And maybe they can finally tip this thing over into the victory category for the Republicans in Georgia. But it's the joke was right there. I had to take it, guys.
He was talking about demon babies.
He runs a daylight. Run a daylight, guys. That's
We have had an ongoing joke about Herschel Walker campaigning against demon babies, which makes sense to only people watching this stream.
Yes, that's true.
Maybe they fool me once, demon baby, but demon baby is not going to fool me again. We need to throw them all in the Potomac. The demon babies are epidemic in the country. I'm going to take out every last demon baby. Because it sounds like something he would actually do.
You think they look like regular baby, but they're not.
You look at that baby, you say, that baby look like the Gerber baby. I say, you mispronounced demon baby.
Your baby look at me cross, I drown it.
Yep, that's how the only way to handle demon baby. Gotta drown the demon baby, and when I was sheriff, I drowned every last damn demon baby that I saw, and I'm gonna drown every last damn demon baby that I come across, Whether it's a runoff, walk off, demon baby off, I'll go off when you demon baby.
Is your baby crying on an airplane? I'll drown it.
You've had a point, I think.
I loved the Daily
fair.
Wire.
It was still here.
Some of the best times in my life.
Is that the Vitamin C song playing? Damn it! Ben, why do you have to be such a pessimist? I mean, aside from the fact that I'm here on your stream, but I don't see any reason that we wouldn't be able to pull the old Senate majority here. Really, if Fetterman wins, we still only need 2 unless they've called some things during this interview. That's totally within the realm of possibility.
I don't think that. I think the Republicans. I think 51 is still, very, very, very plausible, actually. But I think that 53, 54, which is kind of how the night started, which is we're gonna take New Hampshire, we're gonna take Pennsylvania, we're gonna take Arizona, we're gonna take Georgia, we're gonna take Nevada. Maybe we'll take Washington State. I think that some of those things have started to, reality has started to creep in. Still, it can be a good night for Republicans. Listen, Republicans having the House alone means that Joe Biden's agenda is now over and he's not effectively president anymore because he just can't get anything through. But with that said, it's late at night. We're hanging out with you. It's a dark time for all of us, and one of the things that just occurs to me is that candidate quality actually matters just a little bit.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I also, hey guys, for everyone else not named Ben, when was the crossover moment that Ben got a stylist? Because I don't know when it happened, but it was a night and day difference.
Slappy's revenge.
No, Ben, you know this. You went from, like golf shirts like Gerald here, and then all of a sudden...
Whoa, don't throw me in here.
Oh, come on. And then all of a sudden
shirts.
you started looking like you were, a Xenia ad, a Hugo Boss, whatever. I was going to say Hugo Boss, but then I realized the whole Nazi attachment.
I mean, you're right. It was shortly after I wasn't killed at the end of American History X.
Celebrated life.
And you're growing a beard.
Yeah, that was the zigzag that I
You were
was
growing
sorry
a beard and then you just shaved
I
it
faked
off.
y'all out.
It was the most important political story of 2020.
Yeah.
Well, he shaved off the beard because Kanye thought he was a Jewish werewolf, by God. Howling at the moon, trying to play me for a fool, Ben. Ha!
Where is he?
All right.
This is why we can't have nice things like friendships or a company.
Well, look, guys. I think, hey, Andrew, we need you. Andrew, you never call me anymore. Andrew, you never call me anymore, bro. This one's for Candace.
You used to call me all the time and say, please get me a job, and now I never hear from you anymore.
Well, yeah. Once I realized you had no power.
I kept telling you, no one could place you, Stephen. I'm sorry.
And all those long nights for nothing. All right. Well, look, guys, I think there's a lot. Do you think we'll have any final question? Do you think we'll have any concrete results here tonight? Do you think we'll actually be able to make some calls? I know the media doesn't want us to be able to, but do you think
Jean-Pierre was very clear. It could take months
That's
to
how it's supposed to work.
the election, and that means the election is working. So let's all calm down.
There's only one race I care about, Stephen. You asked for long shots.
The white race.
My old district.
That goes without saying.
The New York
real, though,
Senate Party. So, yeah.
It's okay. He can make that joke. He's Italian, right? He's part Sicilian, the Southern Italian.
The Sicilians have always occupied an ambiguous racial territory, which is very helpful.
Yes.
The race that I'm looking at is New York 17. Sean Patrick Maloney is the head of the DCCC campaign committee, and he could lose. I don't know that he will. If he loses, though, that is a message to not just some random Democrat in New York. It's a message to the whole campaign. It's a message actually to the entire party in the House. And so there's a very, very good shot we will get those results tonight. That would be extraordinarily satisfying. And then on those crucial races, we're probably going to have to wait until 2027 to figure out what happened.
Well, yeah. I think you're right. And I will say this too. I think this is what obviously I don't think this is the most important election of our lifetime. I think it's the precursor to the most important election of our lifetime in 2024. That's how I see it, and that's why I see the gubernatorial races. I think you guys would probably agree most indicative of where we would be if you were to hold a national election today, because obviously with the House, obviously with the Senate, less so, but kind of as you veer more towards governorships, you're talking about local politics, which is why local politics are so important. How effective you are, what kind of a campaign, right? You can have red states that have entirely blue races or entirely blue victories. The governorships here and the momentum that we're seeing there is, I think, a pretty strong indicator of where we're going in 2024. And I think, the last election that we covered, was a sort of a referendum on legacy media. And last we checked, here we're not on YouTube, we're not on Facebook tonight, but
Right.
I mean, 350, 400,000 people, something like that on Rumble. This is a sort of a referendum right now on YouTube, and I think it's a good thing. You guys are building your own platform, obviously with Daily Wire, but this is, I think, a tectonic shift of people realizing we all want to be off of these platforms, but there isn't a viable alternative. Tonight, enough people are migrating away that I do think that's a really big win, just beyond the politics. But I will leave you guys with this. Candace was actually, she brought up a very good point about Jean-Pierre, and that's how you know the election is working. I couldn't hear, I think that was the person you were quoting, right, Candace?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. And the thing is, it could not be a more, that's the most apt person to be making that comparison, because do you know why? That Herschel Walker tell you that Jean-Pierre, that is one grown-up, grown-ass demon baby. Daily Wire, thank you very much. We'll be back later.